Every episode celebrates original content written by real people who experience real emotions. I'm Rayanne Thorn Krueger. Welcome to Real Words. Mary Krell-Oishi, did I
Hello.
say that correct?
Yes, you did very good.
Welcome to Real Words. I am thrilled to have you as a guest today to talk about your transformation in life, in career. What an amazing thing that you have done. I would love for you to just give us a brief snippet of your story, and then I have some questions for you. I can't wait to hear your answers.
Okay. The story from how I went from teaching to screenwriting?
Sure, or just tell us who you are and where you're
Oh,
from and what you do.
okay. I am Mary Krell-Oishi. I was a teacher forever, 35 years, and now I'm a screenwriter, and I'm a mom and a grandma and a wife and a sister, and it's all about family and being who you are and accepting it and embracing it.
I love it. Now, I know how old you are.
I'm 71
So this is one of
and
the
no more.
most amazing parts of the story. You are 71 years old. You taught high school
Yeah.
for 35 years.
Yes.
Um, a, a if you're in Orange County area, North Orange County area, everybody knows this high school. You taught at Sunny Hills
Sunny Hills.
High
Yeah.
School, and my daughters played water polo and did theater at La Habra High. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
very familiar and competitive with Sunny Hills. Sunny Hills, but a lot of our listeners are not from that area. So I want you to talk about your transformation from teacher to screenwriter at 71 years old.
Well, it started
What?
earlier than
What?
that. It started my last year of teaching. I knew it was going to be my last year of teaching. They were offering this wonderful package. I've been teaching for 35 years, and I always knew when I left teaching, I wanted to leave while I loved it. I didn't want to be one of those teachers that people said, please God, when is that woman retiring? I wanted to leave when I was still like, oh, I love my job, and I love my job. But I knew things were starting to change. They're starting to undercut the arts for some of the schools, and ours was one of them. So I was like, okay, it's time to make a change in my life. And through the good graces of who knows what, I got a brilliant student teacher that year. And he came in, and he's a former student of mine, so I knew he'd been well trained. But but he was just fantastic, and he's now teaching at La Habra High School. He's a theater teacher there. But
Great.
he, I was able, because he was supposed to teach 2 of my classes, and I was supposed to stay with him like the first semester, hovering, watching. But I knew within weeks, this guy knows exactly what he's doing, and so I just let him take over the classes. But I was like, well, okay, because if I'm going to let him have the classes, I need to back away, because the kids need to know he's the one in charge. So I backed away, and I was like, well, what do I do now? And I'd always been writing. I wrote scenes for my students forever. I have 4 books of scenes out that were bestsellers, 1 act, a full-length play that I've been doing since like the 80s.
Okay.
Um, so I thought, well, you know what? I should try something new. And I looked online, and there was a class at UCI for screenwriting. I thought, I'll do that. That'll be fun. And I took the class, and boy, was that a shocker to me, because plays and screenplays, 2 different things, which I was not aware of. And I walked in there like, I'm the best. I'm awesome. Yeah, I wasn't. And the good thing is, because I'm a teacher, whenever I do something like go to workshops as a participant, not a leader, I always think, be the best student you can be. Pay attention, volunteer, learn. So when I took that class, that's what I did. I paid attention. I volunteered to have my stuff read and have it torn apart. And I learned. And the class, it was a year-long process. And the script that I ended up coming out with was totally different than the script I thought I'd be writing. Because thought I was going to be writing this dark, blah, 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 emotional. Rah. and it turned out to be a really fun rom-com called What Would Meg Ryan Do? And it ended up winning several contests, and then I entered another contest. I won that, and it happened really fast that I was able to have success in terms of contests. It happened really slow getting things made, really
Mm.
slow. So, but yeah, it's
I want you to take back it happened fast because you've been prepping for this
oh, yeah,
your whole career as a teacher.
that's
Uh,
true. Yeah,
and you took from what you learned from your students, which is you have to be open to learn. You
yeah.
have to be open in order to grow. I'm sure you had students that thought they knew everything
Oh, yeah.
and didn't need coaching or didn't need teaching, right? But you as a teacher can turn around and tell these young people, just listen and learn because a whole new world is going to open up for you and this happened for you,
Mhm.
Mary. So congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
Not quick success, although it might feel that way or seem that way to other people. You've been preparing for this your whole life, really,
I
truly,
honestly,
your
the
whole
first
career.
time I wrote and got success writing was 3rd grade. I wrote a story about it was a lesson about evaporation, and we could just describe what evaporation was. So I wrote a story called Rainy the Raindrop and how he fell down and was evaporated. And the teacher read it out loud to the class. That was my first moment where I thought, this is something I can do. I can write. Interesting.
We have something in common because I wrote my first song, first and only song in third grade. So, third grade, I mean, I think it's that time of exploring your own brain and break. I mean, you are driven and pushed in third grade
Mhm.
to try new things, right? The times tables come our way.
Yeah,
The learning how to write cursive, new types of art are
yeah,
presented to us.
exactly.
You know, I think I did a couple of plays that year, so I was really
Wow,
stretching as a person, even though I was just a very young
a little
child. So
girl.
I love these stories about third grade because it reconfirms how we grow as humans, right? We
Yeah,
come to a certain place where it's time to add more. And Mary, you decided to add more.
yeah.
So congratulations on all the good things,
Thank you.
on deciding that you could learn more. I'm sure your class was terrifying, taking that class at UCI, which is a not a not a not an easy school. That's not an easy school. So congratulations on that. All the great success coming from your wanting to learn, to change, to grow.
That is what I wanted. I didn't wanna be stagnant.
Did that come from being curious, or did it come just from having been a teacher for so
Um,
long? You knew what you needed to do.
it primarily came from curiosity. I wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to see if I could do it. Um, it was just this, like, my mom had just died the year before, and it was like, and she died at 80. I mean, she had a someday when we're alone, I'll tell you the way she died was the most beautiful moment of my life.
Wow.
It was just a beautiful thing. All of us should have that kind of death. But, I always still to this day, oh god damn it.
It's okay. It's
To
okay.
this day, like, I find out I win a contest or something, I reach for the phone to call her still. And she died in what, 80, no, 9, not years. That's what happens when you get my age. She died in '08. Yeah,
Okay.
'08. And however long that is, I'm a theater major, I don't do math, can't do that kind of subtraction. However long that's been, still to this day, something good happens, I think, "Oh, I wish I could tell my mom." So I just tell her in my head and she hears.
That I love that. I actually have a really dear friend that passed away in February,
Oh,
and I've had those experiences several times since her passing, where I've wanted to tell her. And when I told her husband how much I missed her, he said to me, "Rayanne, all you have to do is put your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and just listen for what she would say. You
yeah,
know what she would say. So
yeah.
just
Ah,
listen and hear what she would say." So I really appreciate that it's a connection, and your
Yeah,
mom lives on through you, and you pass on what she shared with you, what she gave to you as a mother, as your first teacher,
yeah.
right?
Oh
You
yeah,
pass that on to your own daughter and to your granddaughter, and more, and to your students for sure.
yeah.
So let's talk about being a writer, being a
Okay.
screenwriter. Um, what has been the most challenging part of that for you?
Um, being a woman of a certain age.
Interesting.
Um, it's what happened with a really okay. So when I won that contest, that's the Industry Insider contest. Simon Kinberg was the judge, and he wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and all Sherlock Holmes. I think he did wrote Sherlock Holmes. Lots of amazing things. But he selected my script, Secret Asian Man, as the winner of this contest. And it was just like this enormous thing. Um, but oh, where was I going with this?
I asked you about the challenges.
Okay,
What's
so
been the most
thank
challenging?
you. Yes, 71. So what happened was because of that win, I got interest from several managers, agent type people who had read the script and they're like, "Oh my God, they were calling me, they were emailing me. We want to meet with you. We want to represent you. You're going to be great.
Wow.
You're so talented. This is the best script I've ever read." I'm like, "Oh my God." So I was 58 then, 58 or 59. And so I was super excited. And in fact, this one company called me, the owner, the main guy, and he says, "Can you come in?" I said, "Well, I've got a meeting with this other company." He goes, "Well, don't sign with them. You need to talk to us first." I went, "Oh, wow, okay, wow." So I thought my career is made. So I go in and I met with the three main people, the owners. And when you're having an owner meeting, this is big. You would have thought I was the Night of the Living Dead when they saw my face.
Oh,
They're like, "Ah, nice to meet you." And I thought, "Well, this is not what I was thinking I was going to face." So I sat down with all three of them, and the main guy was very nice, but very like, "Okay, so tell us about yourself." And there's another guy who was really sweet, but I knew he was not
you could
interested.
feel them exiting.
Oh, big time.
They were
But the
pulling
one
back.
guy,
That's
oh no, here's the best one. The one guy kept looking at me like I was like, I don't know, dirty. And at one point he says, "So how old are you?" Yeah. It's like, I'm 58, 59, whatever I was. He goes, "You sure this just isn't a hobby for your retirement?" I said, What? Excuse me?" And he goes, "Well, because you're like a grandma and you're older. So I don't know, you should probably take up knitting or gardening or so." Yeah, that was my face. I was and I just picked up my purse and I just stood up and I said, "Can I swear here?"
yes, you can.
"Fuck you." I got up and I walked out.
Wow.
I could not believe it. He couldn't ask that stuff today. There's no way. I'm happy to say that company went out of business. But I mean,
Well, we can see why,
yeah. I mean,
right?
and what does it matter what I look like or how old I am? I'm the writer. It's the words on the page. It's not
None of it
this.
should matter ever anyway. I mean,
No.
when we think about the era that we're in, inclusiveness,
Mhm.
um, feeling like you belong, and having somebody say those things to you in person,
Yeah,
when you've taken this risk already, you've taken this huge risk,
I know.
pulling away from a career you love that was good to you,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
then I can imagine that must have been such
slap
an
in the face.
astounding, yeah, I was thinking of a giant hill that you had to climb.
It was crazy. And then from that point forward, I realized. I wasn't going to get a manager. And the problem was everybody I met with was like 30. They're all kids.
Wow.
And it was one of those things. So what I discovered was the way to get ahead was to keep writing. And I was entering contests at the time. So I kept doing really well in contests, festivals, stuff like that. But what I discovered was networking, which I'd never done before. And I'm still not comfortable with. And
The old
that's
schmooze. You got to
I'm not
schmooze.
good at it. I don't like it. I am embarrassed by it. And
But look how good you're doing right now. See,
yeah, but you're
here's
nice and sweet.
no, you're smart, you're strong, you recognize your value. When
Yeah.
you stood up to those men in that room, I'm assuming they were all men in the room.
Oh yeah.
That's nothing against men, but you were in front of men
Yeah.
and you stood up to them
Yeah.
because you recognized your value and your
Yes.
contribution. And there's no reason to sit there and take that. So
There isn't.
schmoozing can take on a whole different level. Networking can take on a whole different meaning when you have authority of self,
Yeah.
when you recognize and respect yourself.
You have to value
So
who you are and what you're doing.
feeling valued. Years ago, when I did an informal survey for every employee I knew, right? I just put out an informal survey on Facebook to all the employees out there. What do you care most about from your employer? Feeling valued and respected was
Mhm.
number one, and it
Yeah.
didn't matter the age group because I checked age groups or generations.
Yeah.
Were you a boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z,
Yeah.
millennial? What were
Absolutely.
you? The number one thing was feeling valued
Exactly.
and respected.
Exactly. And if you're not feeling that way, okay, one of the first writing job I got that I got paid for was in 2016. So I'd started this whole process in 2009 when I first started taking the class, 2009, 2010. Took me till 2016 to get my first paying job. And in retrospect, for all the time I put in, it didn't amount to a lot. But what did amount to a lot is the fact that the producer who hired me through this thing called Inktip um, treated me with such respect, treated me with such honor, and as a professional. He had a contract. This is how much we're going to pay you. You have 6 weeks to write the script, or however long he gave me. I'm paying you $500 a week to do this. And every single week, sometimes he'd forget to mail it, or he would come by the house and put it in my mailbox. I mean, his name is Aset Vayez, and he's the producer of Paper Flowers. And that's how long it took the film to get made. So let me just hang up on this. Sorry.
No worries. This
Let
is
me call
real.
you
This
later.
is real words.
God,
This is real words, and there is no editing on this show,
oh,
so it's all
great.
good. We're all good. No, no
Okay.
editing. It's streaming out live, and it will be available on demand as
Awesome.
is, because it's
Great.
about being real. It's not about being automated
Well,
or
I'm
artificial, or
I'm
it's
very
about being real.
confident. Anyway, so
You're
Offset
old school. You have a landline still, so there you go.
Offset was fantastic, and the fact that he worked so hard to get this film made, and that it's premiering at the Dances with Films festival next week, playing at the I think it's called the TMC, but to me, it's still Grauman's Chinese Theater.
Yes, yes,
How amazing is that?
that's amazing.
And then I have this other one, and again, networking. I
Networking.
met this producer, Francis Ho, who produced the film that I wrote, 1521, which takes place in the Philippines in the year 1521 when Magellan came and tried to, you know, do what they do. Uh, um, and there's a love story set against the history. But I met him because I put myself out there. One of my friends said, "Hey, my husband's an entertainment attorney. Would you like to meet him?" But I'd have to drive to Malibu in traffic. It's like, ugh,
You
no.
have to put yourself out there.
So I did. I did. I made my husband go with me so we could use the carpool lane.
Good
And
for you. Good
but
for you.
met with him, and he read Secret Asian Man and loved it, and said, "Yes, I want to, represent you." And he got me a couple gigs, and then he introduced me to Francis Ho, who is also his client. And through that, I wrote 1521. I've done several page one rewrites for him on other scripts. And then he brought me on to do this TV series that he wants to produce in the Philippines, which I end up, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about this, but thank God for Google, because a lot of it has some history to it. But I end up writing this, what I'm going to brag, I don't care. What
Do it.
I love this pilot that I wrote. I love it. It's almost like a Filipino American moonlighting with
Oh,
younger people.
fun.
Just that banter back and forth, and
Yes.
then the danger that comes in. I'm so thrilled with it, and we're hoping that next year we can start filming it. So, and I've already got the Bible written for it, so which means I've got the
Congratulations. Yes,
episodes.
tell us what's the Bible mean?
Bible is like your log line, your page one to describe everything, and then you go through and you have your episodes coming up, like one through four. Could be a limited series, so it's like 1 through 10 episodes. And then you also have to write why it has legs, why it would last longer than just one season. And so that the Bible's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So is the script, but I love it. And I love that I've discovered I really enjoy being a writer for hire. I really enjoy it.
Interesting. It's kind
It's
of like
fun.
a session musician.
Yeah,
Just I come in and do what you do best and
yeah,
then
and then
walk
leave.
out and then
Yeah,
leave.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like babysitting a grandkid. Yeah, I do the fun part and then I'm leaving. So,
Bye. Yes, enjoy that show.
bye. So, if a young person or a new person, say myself, I'm not young, but I have an interest in screenwriting and I come to Mary and I say, "Hey Mary, what advice do you have for me as a new screenwriter? What should I know? What should I do?"
First thing need to do is understand the structure. The structure of a screenplay is, I don't care what the screenplay is. It's very specific. And the easiest way to learn it, almost like remember the Dick and Jane books back
Oh,
in,
yes.
yeah. It's a Dick and Jane book of screenwriting. It's called Save the Cat. And
Okay.
it's by Blake Snyder. And it's the first thing I ever picked up because it's really thin. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And I'm reading it. It's like, oh wow, oh yeah, okay. So it breaks it down in terms of structure, pages. Here's what needs to happen. You need to have your opening image. You need to have your theme stated. You need to have your fun and games. You need to have your debate. You need to have all these things you need to have. And at first I thought, oh, come on now. But you take the outline of it and you watch any movie and you can see there it is. And I make my husband crazy now because I will get to a certain point in the script and go, we've got 20 minutes left, it'll be over. So this is the major turning point. This is the midpoint, but
Wow.
it's learn structure. And if you
But
can
a good screenplay, a will you will not follow that. You will be absorbed in the story
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
be so involved with it, captured by it,
yeah.
that you don't sit back and say, "Wait, wait," unless you're still in learning mode, which Mary significantly is. I love that about you. I love that you're still just the curiosity part is so
It is,
important,
yeah.
right?
Well, not
Staying
if your brain goes dead.
well, and also, did you find that you had to unlearn things that you thought you knew?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Again, playwriting, screenwriting, two different things. I had to understand that screenwriting, it's a visual medium. So you don't you think you have this beautiful monologue that would play beautifully on the stage, but
Right.
in film, you can say all of that with a look,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So
Isn't that
that
amazing? Isn't
I
that
know.
amazing? Because the camera can be right here as
Yeah,
opposed to playing to the last row, right?
exactly.
When you have to play to the last row. So, um, I want to talk to you about one of the things that inspired me to launch Real Words
Mhm.
was not just the celebrating of original content or art, but understanding what AI will do to creativity, right?
Mhm.
What it will contribute to it, what it will inspire, but also what it will take away and what it will cause to happen in certain industries, right? And as we saw last year,
Yeah.
the writer's strike, right? Well,
Yeah.
most of that was because of AI and the
Yep.
use of AI by studios and by producers. Here you are, a new writer,
Mhm.
right? And this
It's
strike is happening. What were your initial thoughts about AI at the time?
that I don't get it. Um, I I don't understand how they for me, writing is it's personal.
Right.
It's like it you have to have the voice, and at least right now, who knows what's gonna happen in the future, AI doesn't have a voice.
Well, it
It
doesn't
doesn't.
have emotion. It doesn't have
No,
connection. It doesn't have history. It doesn't have
exactly.
experience.
I
Right.
mean, I'm bringing so much to the page from my own life, and I'll be honest, I'll go to, a coffee shop and just sit there and listen to other people talk and make notes, and I will use their life in my script. I've no problem. My sister is such a source for me. She hates it, but it's like, "Hey, quit telling me stuff." You know,
You might see a little snippet of your life on the screen one day if you're not careful.
more than a little.
More
But,
than a little.
I have started to use it for 2 things. One, for log lines, because 'cause I'm terrible at log lines.
Okay.
So, what I do, I guess it's called Chat GPT?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll go there and I'll put in, like, write, "Turn this into a 35 to a 50 word log line," and I'll give the details, and then it does it, and then I'll
Okay.
say, "Okay, make it longer. Put this in it, do that in it," and then I'll take it, okay, that's usable, then I'll go back and I'll fix it how I want it. But it gives me a jumping off point. Same
Right.
with a one page, where you
Okay.
have to take the entire script and for sales, turn it into one page.
Right.
So you go through, and the best way I found to do that is to take my outline, that I use to write the script, and put that there and say, "Turn this into a 200 word one page." And then I'll say, "Okay, now fix this, fix that." It'll do it again. And then I just take it and I rewrite it. But it gives, because to me, writing those short things is really hard. It's 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 tedious,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't
Well,
like te
it's easier to write something long. Who is it that said, I write such long letters because a short one would take me too long? There's a
Yes.
famous writer that said that. I write such short letters because I think it might have been Mark Twain. I don't know. I'll find out and share it in the comments. But does my letters are long because it would take me too long to write a short one. Right.
It's
So
true.
I have a question for you, and it just popped into my head. So when you're writing,
Yes.
does do you always have an ending in sight in mind, or
Yes.
has an ending surprised you?
Um, I always start with an ending
Okay.
and
And
often
then work
don't get to
backward?
that. Yeah. Well, no, and then as I'm writing, okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but they're in my head talking to me, the characters, and I'll be writing and I'll hit a block. It's like, "What is going on?" And I can almost hear the character say, "That's not what I would do. No, that's not how this story goes."
Oh, I
It's like,
love that.
"Okay." And, like, I had this one character in a script that I wrote that I just loved, and the character is this beautiful young woman and just so brave and so this, so that, but I knew, and she told me, I had to kill her. And as I'm writing her death, I'm crying because I love that
Oh
character so much.
my.
But to make the story go forward, she had to die. Bitch gotta go. So
You
I
know what
had to
that reminds me of? Is in Shogun,
yes,
right? When
yes,
Mariki, when Mariki dies, it's like, what? Why? Why?
yeah,
But it
yeah,
had to happen. It had to happen for the
yeah,
story to move forward. So
yeah. It's
fascinating. I'm so glad I asked that question. So you shared your resource of what is it? Save the cat.
uh-huh.
Do you have another resource? Do you use a specific
Um,
software when you're
oh,
screenwriting?
yes.
Or what do you
Uh,
use?
I use Final Draft, which
Okay.
the initial cost is like $200, worth
Okay.
every penny. At first, I was like,
Okay.
"Ah, but then I thought, I'll spend that much going out to dinner for a couple times. So
Right.
the software is, what I need.
Imperative.
So Final Draft, it's a must. It's the industry standard. It's what they all use.
Okay.
And then what else do I use? Uh, yeah, that's about it. I
Okay.
use Final Draft, and I still refer back to the Save the Cat outline. And there's a thing on the online called Beat Sheet Calculator. So it takes you through the beats, and you put in how many pages you want the script to be, and it tells you where to get, you know. And I mean, I don't like, oh, by page 20, I have to be, break into act one. I don't follow it like, I must cling to it, but it's a guide. It's helpful. It's not a rule. It's helpful. And it keeps you from wandering off into a million different places, you know? And it keep you need to also remember, if you have like one main character, keep that character's point of view. That's like, look over here, look over there, um, but do it from, you know, Janice's point of view. Janice
Interesting.
looks over
Got
at
it.
Tom, not Tom looks at Janice, because it's not Tom's story, it's Janice's story.
Okay.
You have to remember who the story belongs to. The other tool I have is my husband, who has no background in theater. Was a science teacher. He's a wrestling coach, the whole 9 yards. Cute as hell. But he has been reading my scripts since day one, and so he's learned what works.
Oh,
And
interesting.
my goal with him is, if it doesn't keep his interest, because he's the general audience, if it doesn't keep
Right.
his interest, then I need to tighten it up. I need to fix it. I need to amp up the drama. I need to put more roadblocks in. So yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Great.
another source is called Screenwriting You, and it's an online um, screenwriting thing, and I've learned, like, I took just because I needed it. It's almost like I needed a refresher on screenwriting, and I learned, like, different ways of approaching how to write a screenplay. Um, so that was good. So there are all kinds of things out there that are really helpful, that really bring you they bring you knowledge, they bring you experience, and you know I have a writing partner on some of my things, Tamara Soretsky, who is brilliant. This woman is so ahead of her time. She's so cutting edge, and we've worked on several scripts together and they're always woman oriented. Like, we have one called Beverage Mafia Queens, which is based in true story of two women who tried to break into the non-alcoholic beverage market, their own thing. It's like Succession. It's deadly.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that was another thing. I met her through this ridiculous networking thing that I didn't want to go to, but yay, I did. So, and now she's like one of my best friends.
So being uncomfortable is part of learning and growing.
You have to be
You
uncomfortable.
have to go through some discomfort
Yes,
in order to change and grow and
you
learn.
have to. You have
You
to.
have
Otherwise,
to.
you're just going to be stagnant.
I love it. I love it. Mary Krell-Oishi, thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
my guest today. It's been absolutely amazing. I have learned so much. That's
Oh,
always my goal when hosting a podcast
you made
and
this easy for
inviting.
me. Scared.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I know you were a little bit nervous about joining me today, and I really appreciate you putting those nerves aside and being uncomfortable
There you go.
and learning something new, because someday you're going to have to walk across the stage and accept a big award in front of millions and millions of people. So
And your
we'll keep
lipstick got to
our
there.
fingers crossed for that. How can we see some of your work that's available now? Like 1521?
1521 is going to be on Amazon and Apple in August.
Awesome.
And we're hoping to get a distributor for Paper Flowers soon. And I mean, it's so funny. My cat is in the way. It's so funny that's Ginger.
That's
Anyway,
amazing. Cat
um,
tail across the screen. We love it. It's
oh my
perfect.
God. Uh, and then I
She
have
doesn't
another
like that your attention is elsewhere.
and then I have another one that we're hoping is going to get funded soon. So, you know, things are moving. I just, you know, and fortunately, thanks to modern medicine, one can live longer than, you know,
That's right.
my
Well,
plan is to keep working into my 90s.
good for you. I have the same plan.
Yeah,
Let's hope we can stick with that plan
we
and
shall.
we shall. Mary Krell-Oishi has been my guest today. Watch for her work coming in August on Apple TV and also on Prime. The first project that we'll see is 1521, correct?
Yes,
More to
yes.
come.
Thank
Such a
you.
pleasure.
It was
Mary, thank you for joining
wonderful.
me.
Thank you
We'll
so much.
see you next time here on Real Words.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was made possible by Never Enough Media.